Whenever I need clarity, I always go to this gentleman. He is a lecturer of the University of the West Indies. I like to call him a political analyst. That's what he is. I called him a political scientist one time, and he said, that boy's going to get mixed with my boy, stay with analyst. Okay, fine. So Dr. Winford James, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Rennie B, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
It is always so good to hear you. I trust that all is well with you, sir.
You're very kind. Yes, I am. All is well.
That is good. This Sunday morning, going to pick up on a couple of issues that's before us, and I want to get your opinion on them as always. The appeal court this week put to rest the election appeals of the UNC. While this is constitutional, Dr. James, the question remains, was it necessary to go through this? Like I said, it is the right of someone to go there and challenge, as they did. But was it a really necessary step when all the opinions said this is going away?
Well, it depends on what we mean by necessary.
Was it necessary to go through the appeal process? And in lieu of what was put forward before the judge, that he ruled that the EBC may have overstepped their remit, but it did not fundamentally change the results of the election. Was the appeal necessary?
Well, it depends on what we mean by necessary. Lawyers exist in a world where they understand or they hold that matters are not completely understood until the highest courts determine them. So that it is not in their world, maybe not in the world of the general public, but in their world, a lower court's judgment might not be sufficient in terms of promoting our understanding. I'm sure where you have tiers of courts. And in this system, there were two tiers for this particular matter, the petitions. There were two courts, two tiers. The lower court, Justice Amoruddin presided over that court. And then, of course, you had the higher tier involving or comprised of the Chief Justice and two other High Court judges. Now, that's a system that is there in the legal structure. So from that point of view, if you want to be satisfied that our structure would lead to the best understandings, then you can say it is necessary. It was necessary. Appeal to that court.
Good enough. That's exactly what I wanted to get clear from you. I was a bit taken back, and I don't know if the court was in the position to do it, or now it basically put it in the domain of parliamentarians, of the legislature, the legislative body of government, to look into this whole question of the EBC. I was hoping that I would have gotten, not from the appeal court, but even from the first ruling, if in fact as the judges and upheld by the appeal court, the EBC overstepped its remit, that should have been addressed in some form or the other, because at the end of the day, should we have this happening again, deja vu? So I was hoping I would get some further clear instructions as to what is recommended to be done in a case like what happened with the weather on that election day.
Well, I don't know if a judgment on the petitions or on any matter is the place to make appeals to the legislators of our country. It's not that the judiciary cannot make recommendation. I think they do.
Recommendation is what I meant, yes. But White said it would be worthwhile for the legislature to look at this situation with some sort of direction. The fact that the appeal court has said they overstepped their remit.
Question is the appropriateness of the forum. If you are making a judgment on a case, a particular case, while I don't know that there are laws that circumscribe the space in which you make a recommendation, I am not aware that judgments on particular cases are the spaces where you make such recommendation. So that the judiciary can tell the parliament what to do, and not that the judiciary did that in this case. But there are forums in which recommendations can be made. In any event, the executive can take a decision because they are the ones who are running the country. And of course, they were part of, or the PNM party was part of the case. They were the ones having to Well, I don't think it's defend, but certainly they're the ones who are expected to present their take on the matter. Remember, you had three bodies, the UNC, Stroke Partnership, the PNM, and of course the EBC.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so there are these three parties, and they presented their views, and we have a court system that says the appeal court would determine. What the appeal court has basically done is to endorse the ruling of the lower court.
Mm-hmm.
And we still don't have, I don't know if you've got it yet, but I haven't seen the written judgment, but we have got an oral judgment. But we have read the judgment of the lower court, and the lower court was very clear that the EBC does not have the power to extend an election by any amount of time, but in this case by 1 hour, because of rain. That is clear. And the appeal court endorsed that decision. But the appeal court also endorsed the opinion of the lower court that the extra hour voting did not in any way affect the outcome of the elections in the 5 constituencies that were targeted.
This is done. It's over with. There is no further to go with that. So that is a case. We will wait now to see what happens with the actual specific dealing with the EBC. My guest is Dr. Winford James. Good to have him here this Sunday morning, as we are fortunate every time we get him here. Varying attorneys. I'm going to turn to 4 subjects I want to deal with you. That was one. Here is the second one. Varying attorneys have weighed in on the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister, has said he has no interest in continuing discussion regarding the recent impasse with the President regarding the overreach, which is to where he called in the Minister of National Security, etc. My question to you this morning, sir, should citizens do likewise, as the Prime Minister said, okay, we're done with this, or are we entitled to legal clarity and a statement once and for all on this question of the power of the President to call in a member of the Prime Minister's cabinet?
Yes, no, the Prime Minister can take the decision that he took, because as he said, he doesn't want that kind of engagement with head of state, and that's a personal judgment, right? And it's a political judgment. Apparently, he doesn't see any virtue in wrangling with the President over that matter. In a context of versatile politics.
Yes.
But that does not mean that other people in society may not want to continue seeking a clearer answer given what has transpired. And I am one of those people. It's just that I am a man of straw. Being a man of straw, I cannot undertake the legal challenge. Mm-hmm. There are people who can mount a legal challenge. And the reason why we must mount legal challenges is that we are not clear on the limits of presidential authority.
That's right.
We are not sure. The president has his own sense of it, and he's entitled to that. But the mere possession of that sense does not mean he's right. And therefore, somebody can take this matter to court to get an interpretation. That's what we really want. And just as in the case of the first issue, we need an interpretation from the structures that exist to offer clarity on matters like that. And so, yes, as you put it, there is an entitlement to greater understanding. Otherwise, we will move in different directions with our particularistic interpretation. Mm-hmm. Those are good for any moment. We do need to have a position on matters. But if we want to have social direction, then we need to have somebody constituted for the purpose to undertake an understanding or an interpretation of the issue, which means that an issue must be presented for the court's attention. So yes, to answer your question in brief, yes, we have an entitlement to know more because the matter is still open
I am in concert with you on that, but I thought your succinct way of putting it together is something that was very necessary. Thank you, sir. I got four questions. That's two. Here comes the other one. The president of the Police Social and Welfare Association, Inspector Michael Seal, is again calling for body cameras for police officers. His call comes after yet another case in which his colleagues are under fire, especially in social media, after being accused of killing an unarmed laborer, that is Adele Gilbert, in San Fernando on Thursday. Seal said the entire incident was not recorded, but body cameras could have assisted in presenting a clearer picture to the public. There are a lot of priorities for the police service. Is body cameras one of them, sir?
Yes, that's one, and it's, of course, that suggestion has only come, if I may say so, following the police abuse of power in the United States of America and maybe elsewhere, where we have had many instances, too many, and one might even say one example is too many. We have situations where police are taking the law into their own hands. I mean, by ending people's lives at sometimes the slightest provocation. Mm-hmm. If you have body cameras that are recording everything, then once the footage from those body cameras comes before the court, and people are going to resist, as you know, the court will have more evidence to determine whether the police acted judiciously.
I am an advocate for the cameras myself, but I have to listen to voices that say, for instance, there are many instances where folks are still doing written stuff where technology is needed. That is a priority. Where the communications between different departments is not anywhere close to acceptable, that must take money and priority. And body cameras, while important, is not the priority at this time. You agree or you disagree?
Well, one priority does not exclude the other necessarily. It's how you
well said.
You arrange your priorities. But you can have 10 priorities. You could have one.
Running concurrently, yes.
I would suggest that one priority or two or three probably are not enough for us to make a judgment on. I can't rank the priority, but if people are losing their lives, and people are losing their lives, and that's the worst thing that would happen to an individual, I imagine.
Ultimate price, yes.
Died prematurely, right?
Yes.
Especially at the hands of the forces that are supposed to protect such a life. Now, if that is happening, and you have a mechanism that can help us moderate that kind of police behavior, then we should take it. But I want to suggest that whether we use body cameras or not, the fact of the matter is, or maybe I should be cautious here, it does seem that the man was unarmed. And if he was unarmed, the question arises, did the police need to use such lethal force? Yes? We also know that from the information we have had so far, that we don't have the beginning of the event and the end of the event. We only have a part.
That's right.
And that's internal to the circumstances, a part of the whole. We only have a part of it. But I am insisting that the police, there is a need for us to inquire into their judgment. The guy the plainclothes policeman, it appears, who shot this man. And I don't know if it's from behind or in front. But the question is, was there a need for such lethal force against a man who was unarmed?
I hear that, Dr. Winford James, our guest inside of here. I'm doing a fast barrel with the esteemed doctor this morning because we've got the Minister of Works coming up in addition to Ozzie Warwick of the OWTU. So here comes my final question for you on this quick drop it this morning, Dr. Winford James. Willing to give the government time to implement and deploy strategies and improve technology, part of what we're talking about, to meet the crime statistics we are seeing. We are saddled with more murders than we have days in the year. And the also abysmal detection rate that we are looking at. Should the public have more patience, or do you agree with the impatience that is being shown by the electorate in general, that nothing is being done to their satisfaction? Are you inclined to wait a bit longer is my final question, sir.
Choice. I have no choice but to wait. We don't have a solution just yet. If impatience can bring the solution, fine. Impatience must translate into the police doing the kinds of things we would like them to do to increase their detection rate crime situation. But until that happens, we need to be patient because we don't have another choice, do we? We don't have another choice. But if impatience on our part can galvanize a kind of executive approach and also an approach to crime by the police that results in higher detection rates and in the reduced commission of crime, let us go for impatience. But impatience is not something by itself. It is not detached from the results that we want. You know, in your own life, Rennie, if you are impatient, but the impatient does not go anywhere, or it goes into directions that are fractious, you might want to say, well, there's no purpose in using impatience.
That's right.
You know, but if you can commission your impatience to force executive action in ways that we have not been experiencing so far, or in making the police, you know, become more conscious in the way they prosecute crime, how they detect it and how they prosecute it, then then impatience would be a virtue. But I think patience will always be a virtue once we are seeking to find the best courses of action in the way we run ourselves, we moderate, or we administer our society or communities.
I'm going to stick a pin in the privilege of having you here this morning and hope to have you down here in person very soon. University lecturer and political analyst, Dr. Winford James, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning and giving your perspective.
You need to add retired.
Whoa, retired now?
Yes.
I didn't get that memo. Retired. All right, sir. Retired it is. We will correct that in the future. You have yourself a wonderful day, sir. Thank you so very much.